Hello, welcome back. Today's video is going to be a bit different. It is controversial, it is triggering, so if it does contain references to child abuse, so if these things are triggering, please don't watch. I'd rather you not watch than watch and be triggered. I am fine. It's about me. I am fine. I am 70 this year. So it's just telling my story. Now, one thing, powder on my desk. One thing I must say is that the facilities to help children now is a lot better than it was 65 years ago. So, sorry, lipstick on my teeth. So please bear in mind that there is help out there for these children. So here we go. Imagine, I have to read it because I wrote it out so that I wouldn't forget. Imagine, she is 5 years old, sitting in the gutter, watching the world go by. Her clothes are soiled and she is shoeless. Now, the clothing being soiled has to do with playing in the dirt. So, as kids, that's what we did. We played in the dirt. Shoeless because shoes weren't necessary, I don't think. But having said that, whenever we went anywhere, we were immaculately dressed. If we got a mark on our clothes, if we were going anywhere, we would get into so much trouble and we would have to change our clothes. So everything was clean and starched, and once we were dressed, you didn't dare move. You stayed exactly where you were. So the analogy that I see to my childhood and my first sentence is one that, well, first two sentences, is how I saw it. We used to sit in the gutter, my siblings and I, and we used to watch the world go by. And more oftentimes than not, we were shoeless. But not when we were going out anywhere. One of the things that my mother had was, what goes on in the house stays in the house. It doesn't go out of the house, it stays there. So we weren't game, any of us, to say anything to anyone, to ask for help. We were there, and that was it. So, to continue, her mother called her a gutter snipe. Now, for those of you who don't know the meaning of a gutter snipe is a homeless child that lives on the street. So that was incorrect. We had a home. It wasn't a pleasant one, but we had a home, we had food, we had a place to sleep. So we weren't homeless, and we had food. My father was a butcher, so we had meat, all sorts of meat, but we did have meat. She waits for the time to pass until her siblings come home from school. I am number 5, so it would have been the 4 older ones, waiting for them to come home from school so we could play. I mean, at that stage, my mother, if I was 5, my younger sister was 3, and my younger brother, one of my younger brothers, was 2. So there was no entertainment. I wasn't allowed to leave I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. I was going to say leave the yard, but yeah, I used to sit on the gutter and just watch. Back in those days, was it safe? I don't know, probably not, but we did it anyway. Maybe today they will play with her. Maybe then, maybe they won't. They'd come home from school. There was no afternoon tea. You know, the snack when you get home from school, none of that. You come home, you do your homework, and have a shower or have a bath. We had baths. And because there were so many of us, we used to share the water. But we'd have a bath. Did we put on pyjamas? Probably. And that was it. Stay inside. No television. Nothing else to do. Just, I don't know what we did. Anyway. Finally, she can join them at school. She is happy with her green and yellow uniform because it makes her look like them, the other kids. My mother made it, I remember that. Her first experience with bullying was when, on her way home, some older boys tied her up to the urinals in a park by her uniform sashes. We used to have sashes. She was stuck there until her older brother found her and untied her. These boys thought it was funny to tie me up to the urinals. Obviously, at 5, nearly 6, I couldn't untie it, but I had to stay there until he came and he untied me. She is the missing one from her family. By the missing one is that everyone had a place, but I didn't. No one notices her existence. Well, no, they didn't. It's just, yeah, that's Venice. When we went anywhere, Mum would count. She knew how many children she had. And she would go through, there'd be one missing. It would be me, and they'd drive back home, pick me up. I'd be sitting on the front steps waiting. The family goes out. The family goes to the movies. No one misses her until the end of the movie, where they find her up the back with the ushers. Got an ice cream out of that one. We would go to the toilet, and on our way back from the toilet, sometimes the next movie would start. So you're trying to find your way back to your seat in the dark. I got an ice cream out of that one. The ushers got me an ice cream and I stayed with them until the end of the movie, when finally my family came along and said, "What are you doing up here? Where did you get the ice cream?" And the ushers explained that I couldn't find them. Growing up, she got more beatings than anyone else. And that was because, I still believe it now, it's a thinking that I had, was that if you're right and you believe you're right, stand up for yourself. Don't stand back and let people walk all over you. You're not a doormat. I maintain that to this day. Gets me into a lot of trouble. Oh gee, it got me into a lot of trouble then. Got me more beatings. No one knew she had brain damage. No one knew she struggled so hard to be accepted, and all because her brain damage caused her to be different. I have brain damage. It was discovered when I had a stroke. My first stroke. Second stroke, I think. They discovered I had brain damage. And no one knows what caused it. I know when I was born, I was what they call a blue baby. The umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck and I was deprived of oxygen. So how long I was deprived for, I don't know. I was a newborn baby. My mother doesn't remember, except that I was born blue. And of course, 70 years ago, they didn't have the medical things that they have now. So I survived. So let's get on with life. No one knew she struggled so hard to be accepted, and all because her brain damage caused her to be different. She didn't choose to be different. I wanted to be like my other siblings. I wanted to be normal, but of course I wasn't. Every time she rejected normalcy, she got beaten. Every single time. Every single time I stood up for myself. Bam! I got beaten. It could be a plastic soup ladle, a metal slotted vegetable spoon, an electric cord doubled over, or the buckle end of a belt. I've also been beaten with a stiletto shoe, the heel end. I've had my finger bitten so hard that I thought it was going to come off. I got my last beating when I was 16. You didn't fight back. I never did. I just took it. And every time it broke my heart. Another piece came off, another piece came off. And then after the beating, my mother would sit us down and look at us and say, get in our face. I hated that. And say, you know I love you. I only do this because I love you. And my thinking was, don't love me so hard. But the last beating I got was she used her fists. She raged at me and she used her fists. And the reason was simply the fact that I hadn't dried the dishes before going to bed. And I am not one for having someone look over my shoulder when I'm doing something. I don't like my efforts being inspected. If you don't like what I'm doing, do the damn thing yourself. But no, I was wiping the cutlery that was dry. I had to wipe the cutlery. And as I put each piece in the drawer, she would pick it up and inspect it and say to me, do it again. I took it for so long, but in the end, it was just too much. So I threw the lot in the drawer and ran out the back door. I don't know where I was going, but ran out the back door, and my old brother just happened to be on the back landing, or coming up the ramp to come inside, and she screamed at him to catch me. Now, all of us were afraid of her. So he did what she said, and he caught me. She got me inside and she used her fists. And as punishment, I got kept home from work. No one rang my work to say I wasn't coming in. I was so embarrassed when I went to work the next day that I had to resign. I told them that my mother had beaten me, and those days, of course, you could get another job reasonably easy, or quite easily. And I had to leave, and I liked that job. I enjoyed the independence it gave me. Of course, not the money. My first wage was, I think, $7 a week. Mum took $5. And of course, the amount increased. The more the wages went up, so didn't get a lot. There were only 2 times that she reacted psychologically to the punishments, where when her favourite hairbrush was broken on her, and when she was kept home from work as punishment. Now, I already explained that one, but my favourite hairbrush, she picked it up and she was beating me with it, and without thinking, my reaction was, you broke my hairbrush. And she said, you're lucky it was just a hairbrush. But I know there were times when she would say, now I only do this because I love you. But the time when she beat me, the last time she beat me, I looked in her eyes and all I saw was hatred. So I stayed. I was the one that stayed when there were only 3 of us left, which is obviously myself, my younger brother who has intellectual difficulties, and the youngest brother who was still at school. All the others had gotten married. 2 of my sisters went working holiday over to New Zealand, left me behind. And I stayed there until I was 21. And the last straw for me was an argument that we had. Well, she spoke, I didn't say much. When she told me, who do you think you are? So I thought, well, I can't do this. I had a friend over at the time. So she heard that. And then my mother called my brothers to set the table for dinner. And I heard one of them say, "What about Venice?" And she said no. So there was no food for me, no table set for me, and my friend was there. She went home and told her mother. The next morning, I guess it was about 7, my mother opened my bedroom door, because I had a bedroom then, first time ever I had a bedroom to myself. My mother opened the bedroom door and said, "You owe me an apology." And I thought, no, I don't. So after she went to work, my friend came over with suitcases and said, "You're not staying in this. You cannot stay here. Come on, pack your things. Mum said you can stay with us." So I ummed and ahed, and I wrote Mum a letter saying that I was leaving. I cannot compete with any of my other siblings because I'm not them, I'm me. I left my board, my money that I put in, and went off with my friend. I had to leave my cat behind, and that hurt. But I went with my friend to her parents' place, and I couldn't believe how normal it was to be treated like a human being. Her father was a bit of a, I don't know, buffhead, but her mother was lovely and took me in and just was so lovely. And then later on I was able to get my cat. I talked to my older sister and I said, "I feel bad, what do I do?" And she said, "You know what Mum did?" I said, "No, what?" She took the letter up to her church. Mum was very, very religious, to the exclusion of her children. And they said that was a horrible thing I did. But of course, 21. I'm an adult, I can do what I want now. So we'll leave it there. And if you like this, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. It all will help me in the end. However, please bear in mind, I'm fine. Mentally, I am fine. I've married a wonderful man. I have 2 wonderful children and Luna. So, thanks for watching. I'll keep a watch out for the next time. Bye-bye. Thank you.